Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skill up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about Big Lenny. Now, disclaimer up front, I don't claim to know very much about Big Lenny or the Delray Misfits. The little bit I've seen, I don't really understand the channel, I don't really get what it's all about, but that isn't necessary to look at the situation to where we have yet another competitive bodybuilder in the middle of all these guys dying. We've had multiple bodybuilders die in the last few weeks. This is a big topic, and we have a guy here who does compete, is a bodybuilder. Whether anyone accepts him as a serious bodybuilder or not, your own opinion because of the palumbolism and everything, but that's besides the point. He clearly competes, clearly is competitive, clearly goes to competitions, okay? And he is in the hospital with multiple problems. I went ahead and watched his video. Now I'm going to say the guy's a little bit over the top in the way he comes across, but I think that's part and parcel to the Delray Misfits. It's supposed to be a little bit different. It's supposed to be different. The guy seems to have an obsession, from what I can see, with cookie cutters and not being cookie cutter, and he's definitely not cookie cutter. I'll give him that. But here's the situation. The guy gave himself rhabdo and an electrolyte imbalance within the same day. If we want to talk about being hardcore, I'm going to say that's pretty hardcore. As far as that goes, to even give yourself rhabdo, and I know I'm probably saying it wrong, you guys all know what I'm talking about. It's where you're basically urinating out damaged tissue proteins because you've broken down so much muscle tissue that your body is literally destroying muscle tissue and excreting it in your urine. All right, it's a serious medical condition. It can cause muscle wasting, muscle loss. It can cause damage to your kidneys. It's serious. It could kill you. It can kill you. So basically, this is a guy who trained so damn hard while prepping for a bodybuilding show that he has started destroying his own muscle tissue, literally breaking it down. Not this silly little myth, you've got to tear down muscle tissue. No, you don't. That's stupid. That's bullshit. That's not how it works. That's a bodybuilding myth from people reading too many magazines. This guy actually literally did start breaking down muscle tissue. And to be quite honest, the majority of people will never, ever, ever train even half as hard as required for that to happen. So, is it fair to say that the guy is definitely trains harder than 99% of people out there to have done this? Yeah. Not saying it's a good thing, but he clearly isn't afraid of putting in some hard work. In fact, to the point of excess. He's clearly not afraid of hard work. Fair statement. The fact that he gave himself an electrolyte imbalance, because I guess they're down in Florida, down in the Florida heat, in the summertime, doing cardio outside on top of it. What level of hardcore is that? That's up there with that Asian dude who pulled the truck with his penis on video. You guys remember that? Now, clearly that dude is a little more well-endowed than Elgin. But, yeah, pulled a truck with his penis. We're up here at this level of hardcore at this point. Whether that's a good thing or not, I'm going to say probably not a good thing. But it's hardcore. And I'll give him that. Where's the concern? The concern is that we're seeing competitive bodybuilder put himself in the hospital, injuring his own life, and you know, the level of bravado there is we're getting to the point to where that's concerning, because it's the same sort of mentality we saw with the Ronnie Coleman thing. What did Ronnie Coleman say when he was sitting in a wheelchair? That his only regret is that he didn't push himself even harder? I mean, come on. At a certain point, you got to go, dude, you're in a wheelchair now because you pushed yourself so hard. You wouldn't have gotten any better had you pushed yourself harder. Clearly, we've got Big Lenny. Doesn't have the genetics Ronnie Coleman had. Probably has a similar work ethic. I don't think we can question that. If the guy's just been diagnosed with rhabdo, clearly he's got an absurd work ethic. Borderline insane. Borderline insane work ethic. Normal people won't push themselves that hard. It doesn't happen. The problem you've got is exactly the problem there. You see people who aren't as genetically gifted as Ronnie Coleman with the same work ethic, which that also extends to the drugs. That extends to the excessive training, everything else. Ronnie Coleman made, you know, a few million out of it. Won a bunch of Mr. Olympias. but he's also pretty much damaged for life as a result of it. He got something out of it, but he paid a heavy price. You see people out here now aren't getting anything out of it. Not pro bodybuilders, still at the amateur level, who are probably pushing drugs as hard as Ronnie Coleman, maybe more so. Training as hard as Ronnie Coleman, getting rhabdo, having cardiac issues due to electrolyte imbalance, due to excessive cardio in the summer heat in a southern state. And clearly with Palumboism, and that's the case with this guy. And I think that seems to be the only thing people bring up. They bring the big Lenny guy up. The little bit I've seen of him is making fun of the Palumboism. Well, you get Palumboism from excessive drug abuse, guys. That's what causes that. Now, people are saying, well, you do what it takes to win. Well, yeah, that's true. People do what it takes to win. And generally in bodybuilding, drug abuse is kind of the norm to win. But, you know, this is someone, again, to the point they've abused stuff for so long that they're having issues with probably organ growth, large amounts of visceral fat around their organs, causing that big excessive gut. And that's what's going on there, guys. That's what's causing that. And so, am I concerned for the guy's health? Yeah, I'm concerned for the guy's health. This guy has never wronged me that I'm aware of. Unless someone knows something that I don't, this big Lenny's never wronged me in any way. I have no personal grudge against this guy. There's no reason I would want to see him hurt. I may not like bodybuilding, but I don't want to see someone so driven and motivated to do something that they inflict self-harm upon themselves. The guy's sitting in a hospital with 2 different medical issues, potentially fatal, sitting there in the bed saying, you know what, I'm going to get back into prep. As soon as I get out of this hospital, I'm going to get back into prep and I'm still going to go compete. I can respect the work ethic, but we're dealing with almost borderline insanity with it at this point. A level of obsession to the point to where it's causing self-harm. I'm concerned for the guy. I'm concerned for the guy. Now, if what I've picked up from the very little bit of him I've seen, and mainly that video and a little bit of other stuff, does he care that I'm concerned? Probably not. The guy would probably tell me, you're a cookie cutter. And I don't care what you think. You're being a big pussy. That's probably what the guy would tell me. And that's okay. He has a right to that viewpoint. But this is the thing, guys. This is what we're talking about with being concerned. And people always say things like, oh, telling people to know their limits, that's just being a pussy, and no one ever achieved greatness. That way, plenty of people have achieved greatness while knowing their limits and working within the confines of their limits. People have won gold medals. People have broken world records while staying within the confines of their limitations, because if they had surpassed their limits and hurt themselves, they wouldn't have won that gold medal. All right, if you put yourself in the hospital preparing for a competitive event, trust me, you're not getting the gold medal. It's not going to happen. It's one thing to have determination and a mind-boggling work ethic. All right, that's one thing. It's another thing to take it so far that you are putting yourself in the hospital and possibly knocking yourself out of whatever competition you have coming and possibly endangering your life. And that's one of the things that is concerning. You do see so much in this community now. There are no limits. I mean, even CT, who is now dying, telling people there are no limits. Fuck limits. Limits only exist in your mind. Fuck overtraining. There's no such thing as overtraining. It's medically diagnosable. There is such a thing. Same thing here. Rhabdo is diagnosable. There are limits. You can believe whatever you want that you don't have limitations, but when your heart gives out and it stops beating or it misses a few beats due to the heart murmur, you're going to find that you have limitations. Your mind doesn't function too well when it doesn't have blood flowing to it anymore. All right? Your motivation goes away when your brain doesn't have blood, when your heart stops beating. Or you collapse and pass out because you pushed beyond your limits in the summer heat. Or when you start losing muscle tissue because you cause rhabdo, and your muscle tissue is literally breaking down and cannibalizing and destroying itself, trust me, that muscle had a limit and you just passed it. And now that muscle's going to get smaller and weaker, and it might not reverse. You might have kidney damage on top of it. You damage some kidneys because of that. or pushing yourselves too hard, or dehydration, or diuretics to get all lean and dry. You damage your kidneys, you're going to find you have real limits real quickly. You're going to find you can no longer eat a high protein diet. When you're eating 40 grams of protein a day, let's see how much bigger and stronger you get. Because that's all that your body can now handle after you damage your kidneys. And that's what your doctor tells you have to eat or you're going to die. Your body has limits. And there's this ideas, again, circulating out there in the community that we don't have limits. Oh, it's whatever you self-impose. Well, right up till you break your arm or your leg, you rip it out of the socket, till your heart stops beating, till you destroy your kidneys, and now you can't eat much protein anymore. Then you're going to find that you have limits, guys. There are limits. There's a difference between people maybe selling themselves short, and I think that's what people intend it to mean, but it's all this bravado gets thrown around in a way that isn't true. Yes, a lot of people sell themselves short on their limitations, and they don't achieve their potential. All right? But if you're going to be the best version of yourself that you can be, you do have to know what your limits are. And you have to know how far you can push your body before something breaks. And you've got to stay within that. And you know what? That's a lot of proper training programming. A lot of overreaching, underreaching models already program that in to where you push a little harder than you can handle, but you've got to know when to back off. That's how you do your absolute best in a competitive environment of any type. You don't sit there and push and push and push till something breaks or till it gives out or you overtrain. You know when to back off. All right, and that's the difference between people who absolutely achieve their greatest potential and those who do not. Those who get hurt, those who fall by the wayside on the way. All right, the ones who fell by the wayside on the way might have actually worked even harder, but they worked harder and not smarter, and they broke something. They don't achieve their potential either. People who find that proper balance while being motivated and driven, those are the people who find their potential. And that's the thing, guys. Anything that we do, whether in the gym or anything competitive or anything, it doesn't have to be lifting weights. It can be whatever your passion is: drawing, writing, playing the guitar, computer programming, being a doctor, engineer, whatever it happens to be. It's about being the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself is being the best that you can possibly be at that one endeavor. And that requires balance to some extent. Because if you're so obsessed and driven with that one endeavor sometimes that it ends up hurting you, and you don't achieve your goals because of it, you're not the best version of yourself either, are you? And if you've sacrificed everything else in your life chasing that one thing, and then you hurt yourself trying to achieve it, and you have nothing left, that's not being the best version of yourself. That's not. It's not how you achieve your potential. You have to find some type of balance. And you have to know what your limits are and when to back down before something breaks. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.